Welcome to the December 8th Corte Madera Planning Commission meeting. Tonight, would you call the order, Adam, please? I mean, the roll call.
Absolutely. Commissioner Metcalf. Oh, she's just connecting now. All right. We can see her. I'll wait. Commissioner Metcalf, just call and roll. Good to see you.
Okay. Good to see you too.
Commissioner Bundy.
Here.
Chairman Chase.
Here.
Commissioner Bandel.
Here.
And Commissioner Rizzo.
Here.
Fabulous. Okay, we've called to order. At this point in every meeting, we open the meeting to public comment for something that is not on the agenda. You can write into public comment at tcmmail.org if you want to bring something to the meeting that is not on tonight's agenda. Or you can raise your hand on the Zoom screen and we will listen to your public comment. Tracy, do you have anything incoming?
I don't see any attendees with raised hands, and I don't have any emails at our email inbox.
Okay. That said, fair warning, we're going to close that public comment for something that is not on tonight's agenda. We will go directly to our first new hearing item, which is 1700 Redwood Highway. This is a public hearing for review of a major design review application for exterior storefront improvements and 2 illuminated signs for a Polestar electric vehicle showroom at Suite A043, 1681 Old Redwood Highway at the Village at Corte Madera. So this is in the old Restoration Hardware space, and they are proposing a new storefront for that space. Mr. Boyle.
Thank you, Commissioner Jason, members of the Planning Commission and public. This is a, as stated by the chair, this is a major design review for tenant improvements to redo the existing Restoration Hardware space, convert that retail space to a showroom for Polestar electric vehicles. Given the rather straightforward and simplicity of this application, I don't have a PowerPoint. I'm just going to walk through the staff report which you all received last week, which contains the written analysis and the findings, as well as images of the proposal, and attached, of course, to the staff report are the plans, which are all shown electronically here, and we can walk through any of those if any particular questions or issues come up. So again, public hearing for major design review, exterior storefront improvements, and 2 illuminated signs for the Polestar electric vehicle showroom, Suite A043 at the Village. This is just, location is, if you're not familiar with it, is just north of the East Court, and the new Restoration Hardware building and the building is facing the east parking lot. And as we do with all projects that are at the Village, if you're doing a significant remodel and you're doing a remodel that faces either one of the parking lots and also visible from the freeway, it comes to the Planning Commission. And so this is a significant change to the exterior of the building, and so that is why it is before you at this time. Just a little background. Well, just a little basics of the project. This is a new showroom. Will be 4,231 square feet in area. It'll just have one entrance on the east elevation, whereas currently the Restoration Hardware building, you actually go through, you can go all the way through it and enter from the center of the mall or from the east elevation. This space will be more or less, if you see in the plans, more or less half the size of the Restoration Hardware space. They're only taking the east side of the space. Again, this is going from a use from a retail outlet to a retail outlet, of course. The front facade will be transformed from an entryway, which is currently pretty much dominated by a very heavy roof with 6 large columns, and it'll be transferred to much more of a modern facade composed of plaster and glass, much more modern, cleaner look. The large covered entryway will be replaced with entry doors to the left and a large display windows at the center of the storefront. The height of the entry will just slightly increase by approximately a foot. And there will be a total of 718 additional square feet, which is added to the showroom. And I'll just kind of scroll quickly through this. Actually, that's on the plans. I won't do that. I can highlight that in a minute. But basically, this covered area that exists today is going to be filled in. The glass walls will come out almost very close to where it is today. And so what used to be pretty much exterior display space for exterior furniture will now be interior building area, and will be used for displaying the merchandise, the vehicles inside. So that's where the additional 718 square feet comes in. While we're looking at this area here will all be removed, and this is, as you see in the plans, a much more cleaner look. So all this fencing and this patio area will be removed. This will be opened up, allow for the vehicles to come in and out through this area here, which is again shown on the plans. There will be a large, like I said, a large 3-panel sliding door system installed to the left for bringing vehicles in and out of the showroom. The building's new exterior will consist of light gray and off-white plaster fascia and storefront window and door glazing, composed of aluminum dark bronze sashes. And the aluminum signs will be placed above those windows in the plaster fascia and above the store windows and the doors. The 2 large trees that exist today to the right will remain and will not be removed, and no other landscaping is proposed on the project. You also may note on the plans there's a note of vehicle charging stations that are being proposed. Those are proposed on the west parking lot, but due to our new expedited permit process for electrical vehicle charging stations, that part of the project is not under the review of this body at this time. So that's the note on those. The building will, in terms of trying to be as green as possible, the applicant, the architect, tells us that the building will meet all Cal Green mandatory requirements for construction. Again, so this is showing existing elevation and the proposed front elevation. Here is the off-white plaster material up above here, and the glazing, both windows and doors, with the bronze aluminum sashes dividing the windows. And these are the small illuminated signs, or the illuminated signs here with the Polestar logo. All this, and then talking about the signs, they'll be on the east elevations. They'll be wall mounted. They're composed of acrylic and galvanized sheet material. The 2 signs will be white in color and each be approximately 25 feet in area, basically 5 by 5, and each of those will be the same size. All the signs will be connected to dimmers and timers, and staff has reviewed the signs, and they're in compliance with the sign section of the code. And they've also been reviewed. Of course, the whole project has been reviewed and approved by the village management as well. So the 2 signs meet all the sign criteria. Again, here I'm just talking a little bit again about the use, that we're going from one retail use to another, and that the design complies with all standards of the preliminary plan for the village and the precise plan. no fiscal impact to the project, to the town. It's environmentally, it's exempt from CEQA per this section of the CEQA code. And in addition to that, I have the photo and materials board. A photo of the materials board has been included in your packet, and we'll of course have that on file at the town. I'll just run through this quickly. You can see it. That's it here there. So when we do that final inspection, we'll be able to confirm that the materials are in fact what they said they were going to be. And again, attach the plan set and the resolutions. And staff did not receive any comments from the notices, and is able to make all of the required findings, which are listed in the resolution attached, and recommends approval of this project by the Planning Commission. And that concludes my report. The project architect, Christian Oakes, is here, as well as I think some other members of the Polestar team. If you want to hear from them or have questions from them. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. I will ask the other commissioners if they have any questions for you before we move on to a presentation. I'll start with you, Dr. Bundy, because you're right below me on the screen.
No questions at this time.
All right. Mr. Rizzo.
I have a few questions. I was wondering if there was like a lumen output or some sort of glare threshold that these signs are kind of held to, and who goes out there and kind of calibrates it before they get their before they start operating.
Right, good question. We have we have the condition for dimmers and timers, and then we also so that's one requirement, and the second requirement is during the time of final inspection, the planner, I will go out there at night and have them turn on the signs and take a look and from a distance and make sure it's not they're not overly over glare and they're not obtrusive. There's also the requirement that the signs be turned off by 11 p.m. At night. And then in addition to that, even if things change or we have the option, we have the dimmers that are installed, and so we have the ability to have the owner dim the lights if they become a problem.
Are there any interior illumination or graphics or TV requirements? Are they allowed to have some sort of promotional things running in the evening?
I did spill out, and we do have a relatively new interior, and we zoom to that, interior lighting condition of approval based upon some other projects that were a bit problematic. So we have interior lighting shall be turned off at the close of business, except for lighting necessary for security and after hours business operations. Any TV or monitor directed towards the exterior of the site for public display purposes as determined by the director of planning and building shall be turned off at close of business. So that's how we address internal.
So it'll be reviewed when you guys do your building permit review for the interior illumination or whatever's happening, because
yes,
I know a lot of these car dealerships have backlit, graphics and a lot of moving, signage and TVs and to explain how the cars work and.
Right, exactly, right, and so that's just how we've tried to address that, and I think it's certainly going to be, if it's a problem, it's going to be a conversation that we have with the owners, with the management, and to make sure it's not obtrusive. And Dan, to answer your specific question, Commissioner, is we don't have a specific lumens, per sign or a number of that. It gets pretty detailed, pretty complicated to specify lumens per sign.
Yeah, Phil, you may want to mention we did, and then we actually talked to the sign manufacturers and guys, and we used to use Kelvin, but that doesn't really work with some of the materials that they're, and the coloring that they're trying to get. So
right. Well, yeah, Kelvin. So Kelvin's a different subject. That's color.
Yeah.
That's color,
right.
light. And where lumens is brightness. And so yeah, when you're dealing with Kelvin and signs, maybe not in this case, but certainly with the Rite Aid, when you're projecting a color, a white color through a red sign or a blue sign, it impacts that sign. So in my opinion, talking to others, lumens is much more important in terms of sign brightness than Kelvin.
So sometimes one of my reasons about asking about the interior is sometimes within the first 5 feet of the storefront, some of the signage criteria sometimes gets reviewed with the exterior signage. That was one of my kind of points, and it looks like it'll be reviewed with building permit and staff in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bandel, do you have any questions for staff?
I do. So the part about there's only one entrance to the store or and it's facing the parking lot.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
So is it correct to assume it doesn't go back? The store is not going to go back as far as the interior of the mall.
That's correct. If I zoom here,
what is backing up to it?
So this whole space here was the former Restoration Hardware space, and right. There may be some other changes that the applicant could be more specific. But so this new space will only occupy the eastern half of this space, and I don't know who the new tenant here will be.
So that would be a new rental. Is that it?
That's my assumption, and perhaps the architect can answer that more succinctly.
Okay, that was my question.
Thank you.
William Sonoma is going to be moving in that space.
Thank you.
All right then. Commissioner Metcalf.
No questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. I had those same questions that Mr. Rizzo had, so I am concerned about the interior lighting and so forth. So with that said, I think it's time for the client presentation.
Good evening, Christian Oakes with TWM Architects. We also have Nick Price here, whose company will own the dealership or the retail store. And we also have Taylor here, who represents Polestar, for questions. As far as design is concerned, basically Restoration Hardware has a certain character that they were projecting with this facade that really doesn't work for this very sophisticated, state-of-the-art automobile, which we're looking to display here. This is not for service or any other function. This really is just display and sales, so customers can come see and touch and visit the car. It's associated with Volvo, so the local Volvo dealership will provide all those additional services. The classic Greek facade that worked for Restoration Hardware is completely out of character with the Doric columns and all the detail that doesn't really fit this car. We've come up with a very simple but high quality material for this facade. I don't know that picture really does well. I do have a sample here. It is a light gray, hard plaster that is very smooth and has a very rich texture and color to it. It's similar to what we have at the Jaguar Rotunda across the freeway. It's a very rich, almost stone-like, it's almost like granite, the finish on this. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention was that the sign is not the word Polestar. It's this very elegant star, and it's really beautifully proportioned. It's really carefully designed. It's a work of art. And even though it has, you know, certain dimensions, it's actually very light. It's really just a star. And we needed two because of the orientation of this building being at a point. There's so many angles that you couldn't see it. I'd like to turn it over to Taylor or Nick if they'd like to speak about Polestar itself. Thank you.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks everyone for their time tonight. I appreciate it. Polestar is an all-electric, sustainable EV company that you know, we as a local dealership, family-owned company thought you know, we were really excited to get involved with. We were one of 4 dealers selected by Volvo to represent Polestar as a company in the country to start. And you know, we were very passionate about having it in Marin County, which is kind of our home county here. And you know, we are extremely excited about not only what they represent, but kind of how they look at, you know, meeting, you know, the community and the customers where they want to be met, which is not always at a car dealership. So we're really looking forward to learning a lot, working with them, and they're just releasing some beautiful, beautiful vehicles that we are very, very excited about. And, you know, we believe they're doing it in the right way. And again, their sustainability goals are something that I'm personally passionate about, and I think fits Marin County really well. So, you know, we're excited to be here. It's good to see a lot of you again. And, you know, we're excited about the future of Polestar.
Okay. Who else from the applicant will speak tonight? Anyone else?
I don't believe Taylor made it tonight. So.
Okay.
All right, not to interrupt. He is on as an attendee. I'm going to allow him to talk. One moment.
There we go. Wonderful. I've not seen this this view before. This is interesting, new to me. Mr. Rizzo, good to see you again. Good to work with you again. So yes, I represent Polestar. I'm the head of network development. Fun fact, I live in the Bay Area, but I started my career working with Tesla at the Village at Corte Madera. So this is full circle seeing it from this side now. But we are very excited to have the Price Sims family group representing Polestar in Marin, and certainly at the Village of Corte Madera. And we frankly are lucky to have such a beautiful space. And we thought it necessary to develop it in a way that the people of Marin and the Village of Corte Madera could be very proud of. And so we're really excited about what we can bring to the table from a brand perspective. And we're obviously very excited to bring electric vehicles, even more electric vehicles, I should say, to Marin and Sonoma counties via this location. There was a question, you know, as an attendee wasn't able to respond to Mr. Rizzo on the interior controls. And what I will say is that from a management perspective, the entirety of the lighting control system is handled through a Crestron touchscreen with scenarios for after hours, morning hours, evening hours, and so forth. So I'd be happy to meet on site and discuss what is acceptable from an interior point of view, and set up the scenarios accordingly to make sure it's not distracting to people driving through in the middle of the night, things like that. Thank you.
Okay, glad to hear from you. So, commissioners, Commissioner Bandel, do you have any questions for these gentlemen?
No.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Metcalf, do you have any questions for these guys?
No, I just have a comment. I think the facade is very attractive. I like the minimalism look of it, and I think it will be an asset to the shopping center.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Bundy, do you have any questions for these guys?
Yes, for Christian, in thinking about the new facade and design there, the RH design was very specific for RH. I'll acknowledge that, but it did really fit in with some of the other facades that are on the east-facing part of the building as a way of breaking things up. You know, having some of these columns, having something projecting out from the building as Boca patio area has done. The concern, I guess, that I have is that I agree it's a clean, modern, you know, look, but the village, I think a lot of us think of it that it's supposed to not be just clean, modern, and corporate. I was concerned about the Charles Schwab building, which is clean, modern, and corporate, but it really doesn't have a lot of character to it. I recognize that you need to do things that are going to work for an auto dealership as opposed to restoration hardware where people are walking in, but it does have some very high-end sort of finishings as far as the facade goes. And was there any thought to trying to, you know, leave the overhang somewhat as it is, maybe with different columns, and rework the center entrance where the cars could come in and out, and where it might be nice to roll a vehicle out during the day where, you know, people could see it in the shade and out of the rain. Were there any thoughts to trying to reutilize the existing facade but make it work for Polestar?
Yeah, I appreciate your concern there. It is a sort of a rustic mall. It's very welcoming and warm, and a couple things we did. We needed to bring the vehicles in on the side because of there's some ADA issues, and there's a curb cut that we're working with to get the vehicles into this slab, which is at a certain elevation. And then Polestar wanted to display 3 vehicles and have a new car delivery room. So that there were 4 vehicles we were trying to accommodate. We did retain the existing curve of the elevation, and we worked with that, and we do have a little overhang, and we do have a recessed entry, and we do have some variety in the facade. I think when and also the richness of this material is also, I think, really warm, like the materials of this mall, and something that you want to be near. It's not something that's cold, like an all metal material. That's about the best we could do in working with the Polestar character and image.
I understand your question, Bob. Did that answer it enough for you to?
Yeah, I think we've all realized that branding is very important for businesses, and you know, things sort of need to fit with it. I wish that there was a greater ability to, you know, work within the existing framework of what's there, especially when there's some really nice elements that blend in with the rest of the facades at the village. But I also think it's very exciting to have 2 electric car dealerships at the village here in Corte Madera. So no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Rizzo, do you have any questions for these gentlemen?
Just a question about the sign. I didn't see a detail. Is the signage inset, or does it stick out a few inches, or what's the detail of the sign itself? It's like a channel set sign, I'm imagining. It's not a box sign, it's kind of channel set. And
Taylor might be best to answer this. It is made of acrylic. It's 3-dimensional and is mounted on the surface.
yeah, so does it stick out like an inch or two?
I believe it sticks out about three. The height on this tells you that you're at 3 inches. And then there's probably another ½ an inch or so. So there is some depth to it.
Yeah, Jim, the sign is pyramidal from a star aspect. So it does stick up, it does sit proud of the facade.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it stuck proud of the facade and how many inches it was.
Sure.
Like, is it like 2 inches?
3 to 4 inches at its point.
Okay. I do like the logo. I was just curious to see, how it was going to be mounted. That was my only question. Thank you.
Okay, so I do want to follow up with the question about the color temperature and that particular screen that you have there. It shows that it's 6,500 Kelvin, so it's a very white light. That's obviously intentional that you want a bright white light for this sign.
That's the Polestar standard, right, sign temperature.
Okay. Yeah, all right, that's very, very white. Okay. All right, with that said,
if I just
yeah.
Pardon me, Commissioner Tiss, I just wanted to one thing I left out in my report. I wanted to highlight that there was a correction on the construction hours. I inadvertently had the older construction hours and the correct construction hours that are listed in the document, and I will change in the document are slight change. It should be 7 to 5 Monday through Friday, and 10 to 5 Saturday and Sunday. And I have had some conversations with the applicant. There are some times when they may want to come in and do some construction early in terms of just delivering of items and that type of thing. And we do have a provision in our code in which we've done with the village and other tenants, is if there are special circumstances when deliveries need to come in earlier, they can submit a request in writing to the director, and if that's going to accommodate and there aren't going to be neighbors impacted or other businesses impacted, we can accommodate those special requests. So I just wanted to make that clarification on construction hours.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. Yeah, it would make sense given that it's a shopping center. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. At this point in the meeting, we will open this item to public comment. So if you have any public comment for this item, you can send it into public comment at tcmmail.org by email, or you can raise your hand on the Zoom screen and Tracy will administer your entry into the public comment section. Tracy, do we have anyone?
We do not.
No hand raised, no emails.
Correct.
Okay. That said, we will close the public comment section of this and go directly to discussion with the Planning Commission. So with that said, I'm going to start with Commissioner Metcalf and see what she has to say about this application.
As I said earlier, I like the application. I like the facade of the building. I have one general comment to make, which is really for future consideration. This being a shopping mall, it has certain type of stores in it, and I don't mind having 2 car dealerships here, but I think we should limit it to no more. And that's something for us to look at, that there would be no more than 2 within a mall setup, etc.
Okay.
And as I say, this is well planned, it is well done. And I think it would be an asset, and I think it will be quite attractive looking as we drive by on the east side and see this. So I certainly approve of it and can meet the findings.
Thank you, Phyllis. Commissioner Bundy, your comments on this?
Well, just with my previous reservations about some of the changes that have happened at the village, I support this project.
Okay. Thank you very much. Commissioner Bandel.
I have the same concerns about this, or similar, that Commissioner Bundy has. I think that the explanation in for the findings in number 4 and the finding in number 6, I think, well, I don't think the report did very well in explaining how that they work, because in scale and in harmony with the existing buildings, I don't think it's really going to make it. We're making an exception for different kinds of stores and different kinds of businesses that have to come in. But I think this would be an exception to that finding. I don't think you, in all honesty, I could absolutely make that finding. And as far as an internal sense of order to the shopping center, I don't think it really adds to the character of the shopping center. It just doesn't. It's a good looking building. I'm sure that the materials are very well thought out. It's got all the necessary bells and whistles that it has to have, but I don't think it fits into the shopping center.
Okay, I appreciate those sentiments. So you're saying you don't think you can make the findings?
Well, I'm thinking about it. I wouldn't. I'm thinking about it.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Commissioner Rizzo.
Okay. Well, I want to congratulate Mr. Price for being awarded one of the Ford dealerships. I think that's very exciting for our community to be able to welcome you into the business here on this new venture. I kind of look at this facade, and I do think that I wish the building was rendered a little bit differently with the proper materials, because I think that the material board, I know what material is going to go up here. It's going to look really nice and really rich. It just doesn't, to me, it looks like almost like an aluminum facade. And I think that maybe that's the warmth that is missing, that some of the commissioners are reacting to. As far as lifestyle malls go, I know that, the intention is to really make it feel like individual stores within a mall. So I don't really have a problem with it being completely different than some of the other surrounding stores, because I think that's really the intention of a lifestyle mall. And also, I think that, having I know the other car manufacturer, pushes a lot of traffic in there, and I think this will as well. And I think it's going to be good for the surrounding businesses to, have more traffic driven around that side of the mall, because typically people just kind of go in there and they don't spend much time on that side other than a Cheesecake Factory. But other than that, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, thank you.
Peter?
Yes.
I'd like to follow up on what was just said, because shopping centers and malls are evolving and the lifestyles are changing. And we're seeing things that are being built today are not being built in straight lines with every store looking the same. The only reason you can tell them apart is whatever the signage is. And we're seeing separate buildings. A good example is what we have with Restoration Hardware, the new building. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there is a problem with having a very modern car being in a building that has a very modern minimalist facade. The materials will make the effect and fill into those straight lines. And I think it's something, you know, that we should consider. Not. And Bob, I remember when you had problems with the building for the stock brokerage firm. And yet, if you look at it now, it looks quite good and does fit in with the others. They blend. They don't have to be the same. And I don't think we should force them to be the same. And we should take hold of the ideas of having some different looks that fit the tenant or lessee of the store and the business that exists there.
Thank you, Phyllis. For my part, I think that it is appropriate for the stucco to be there. I also agree with Commissioner Rizzo that the renderings don't really show the character of what's going to go on the surface there. And I wish there had been a better color rendering of this for us to review. But at least I understand it, and it's not a Porsche dealership, so thank God for stainless steel. But I think it's an appropriate combination with the car, with the facade, and that it'll be very elegant. I, for one, will be glad to see the old facade disappear. So I think this will be contemporizing it, and it'll bring it up to date. So, anybody else have anything else to add to this point? No. Okay. Do I hear a motion for this application PL 2020-0089?
Can we run this to the page with the motion, please?
To the resume.
And just remember the modification to the construction. Just remember to include, if you could, in a motion, the modification to the construction hours that Phil mentioned.
Okay, I will make the motion that in the matter of a public hearing for a design review application for exterior storefront improvement and 2 illuminated signs for Polestar electric vehicle showroom at A043 Village of Corte Madera, 1681 Old Redwood Highway. And it will be number 2020-0089, resolution number 20013. Today's date is the adoption date. The appeals period ending December 18th, and the time for construction has been modified from what we see in the original motion before us.
Great, that was well done. Second for this?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bundy?
Yes.
Commissioner Bendel?
Aye.
Commissioner Rizzo?
Yes.
Vice Chair Metcalf?
Aye.
And Chairman Chase?
Aye. Very good. Phil, would you like to read the appeal rights?
Yes, as with all projects approved by the Planning Commission, this project can be appealed. There's a $300 filing fee for such an appeal, and that appeal application is available through the town of Corte Madera, excuse me, and the appeal period ends 10 days from today, which is December 18th.
Fabulous. Okay. Thank you. And these guys will have it done by Christmas, right?
There's actually, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now,
before we go to the next item, I'd like to ask, did any of us receive the plans for this building? Because I did not, and I wondered if anyone else received the plans other than what we got on our computers.
No.
Okay.
No, I made the decision, given the few number of sheets on the plans and the type of plans, that I thought this would be one that can be reviewed, just electronically. And I do realize that normally, especially with larger residential plans and larger sheets, we've been giving you those hard copy, And certainly I apologize if that was an assumption on my part. And if in the future, commissioners want all hard copy plans, no matter what, we can do that.
I just feel that it would have been easier for me to review it.
Sure.
If I'd had a hard copy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
May I ask if everybody likes the full size? Because I have a hard time reviewing them when we're on our hearing call. In the hearings, I mean, I prefer the 11 by 17. I was just curious to see how the other.
The half size?
Yeah, the half size to me seemed very manageable.
Yeah, but I like the half size better too. We had discussed that a couple of years ago, that we had a choice, and my preference would be for the half size.
Okay, I will just point out that in I printed a half size 11 by 17 size, and quite frankly, there's a fair amount of the writing in here that is barely readable at 11 by 17. So,
it's not readable, Chair?
No, it's not. And some of the, particularly the last page with all of the lighting details, I have to blow it up on the screen in order to read it effectively for me anyway. It's hard to read.
Why don't we leave it up to staff to determine whether or not we need full size, and if we can use half size to have half size.
They can check with us at each time. So,
okay,
let's move on to next item, which is 431 Corte Madera Town Center Rite Aid. This is a sign permit application for a Rite Aid sign at 431 Corte Madera Town Center, PL 2020-0085. Again, Mr. Boyle, this is yours.
Yes, thank you. Similar though, this is not design review. This is strictly a sign, change in the sign. Nothing is being done to the exterior of the Rite Aid store, which has been there for many, many years. This is located at the town center, Corte Madera, on the west side, the southwest corner of town center, the Rite Aid store. This sign is over the main entrance, and the proposal is to just reface the sign. The dimensions of the sign will not change. Rite Aid is going through new branding, and they were changing all of their signs from what you see here to this. So the box itself will stay. Again, it gets a new white face. It gets a new logo, and then it gets the new 2 words. The sign dimensions meet the qualifications of the zoning ordinance. The sign dimensions are and the materials are compatible with the rest of the center. The sign has been reviewed by town management, of course, and they have signed off. And again, no other changes are proposed to the facade of the building or any of the exterior portions of the building. And again, staff felt this was appropriate to come before the Planning Commission, given its visibility to neighbors across the way, and visibility to driving by, and visibility from the parking lot. As with the other sign, dimmers and timers are installed, will be installed, or required to be installed. And again, staff will go out and make sure that the sign is an appropriate brightness, and if not, have the management tone it down. I'm not aware of any problems we've had in the past with the existing Rite Aid sign. This in the staff report shows the dimensions of the sign. It will total approximately, or total 35 square feet. Again, with the logo, blue word and the green wording, totaling 35 square feet. And design again complies with the standards for the preliminary plan of the town center, and staff is able to make all the required findings. Have not received any feedback or any comments regarding the public notice, And again, I'll make the same correction. I apologize for the construction hours. I'll make that change in the resolution. And with that, again, staff recommends approval of this project as well. David Ford from the All Signs is here, is on the call if you have any questions or would like a presentation from him. And that concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. That was very short. Commissioner Bandel, do you have any questions for Mr. Boyle?
No, I don't.
Okay. Commissioner Rizzo.
So the same timer and shut off 11 o'clock applies to this part of the town as well?
Correct.
And is there any difference between the signs that face residential than commercial areas as far as the time they shut off? I guess no.
No, not at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Bundy.
No questions.
All right. Commissioner Metcalf.
Yes. One is this store also opens onto the interior of the mall, and I wondered if there's a sign on that side also. Is one of the questions I have. And the other is, if anybody has been to Rite Aid in the last few days, as I have been, the employees are now wearing new shirts. And if the bright blue that's being used in this sign is the same as the bright blue in their shirts, they're not going to have to light it at night. It's going to glow in the dark by itself.
All right.
Yeah. So, Commissioner, just to answer that question, Commissioner Metcalf is correct. There is an entrance to Rite Aid from the interior of the mall. Yes. I don't believe they're not proposing in this application. The applicant could say if it's differently. They're not proposing changing that sign, and I think the sign on the interior is only on the door, but I'm not.
I can't remember because maybe twice a year you enter that way rather than from the exterior.
Well, I would like to ask the question to interject here that because the application says there are two signs. So where is the second sign if it's not in the front of the building?
I think that's it. I'll have the applicant speak, but I believe that's a typo on the application because I pointed that out to them.
Okay.
Peter,
but perhaps Mr. Ford can Mr. Ford unmute himself and perhaps answer that question for you.
Sure.
Peter, if I may, what we're looking at is the actual entrance to the store. What is on the mall side is just a very narrow aisle you walk in.
Yes, that's correct. But I'm asking where it says two signs, so Mr. Ford can answer the question.
Yeah, it's only one sign. This is the only sign that's being proposed to be changed. I'm not aware of any other signage that needs to be updated. It certainly is not in our scope of work, and I'm not aware of anything else that needs to be updated as far as the signage goes.
Okay, and so, but you've provided this signage with a dimmer switch someplace.
Yes, yeah, the sign will be equipped with a dimmer switch on the sign lighting controls. Hours of operation for the sign would be the same as what it is currently. We're not proposing any changes to that.
And I will ask, what is the color temperature of this white?
I believe that it says on the last sheet, I think it's 5,000 maybe. It says Sloan Prism 5000K LED.
Oh, I see it there. Yes.
Yeah. I think so. I think it's 5,000.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'll go back to the commissioners. Commissioner Bundy, do you have any questions for this gentleman?
No questions.
Okay. Phyllis, anything else? Phyllis, did you have any other questions for staff or for this gentleman?
No.
Okay. All right. Mr. Ford, would you like to make any further commentary or presentation regarding this sign?
Nope. I think Phil pretty much covered everything.
Okay. Thank you. So I will just look at the other commissioners, and if you have any questions for Mr. Ford or for staff, please speak up. None. Okay. We will open this to public comment at this point. Tracy, do you have any hands up or anybody emailing in?
Are there no hands are raised and no emails either?
Okay, well, that's great. We will then close public comment and bring it back to discussion and consideration. We have a resolution in this packet. Commissioner Bandel, do you have any commentary on this?
No, I really don't.
Okay. Mr. Rizzo?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Metcalf, do you have any commentary on this?
No.
Okay. And Commissioner Bundy?
Just that branding is continually changing and applications like this will come before us periodically.
Yes. All right. So that said, is someone able to make a motion for this resolution number 20-014?
I can do that. In the matter of sign permit application number PL 2020-0085 to reface the existing illuminated Rite Aid sign at tenant space 431 on the west side of the Corte Madera Town Center, APN 024-163-08, resolution number 20-014. And the hours of construction are amended as described to be able to work 10 to 5 Saturday and Sunday.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you. Shall we call the roll, please?
Commissioner, start with Commissioner Bundy.
Yes.
Commissioner Bandel.
Yes.
Commissioner Rizzo.
Yes.
Vice Chair Metcalf.
Aye.
And Chairman Chase. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay. Are there appeal rights with this, Phil?
Yes, there are appeal rights as the other project within 10 calendar days. There's a $300 appeal fee. Applications can be obtained through the town of Corte Madera.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's great. Okay, so now we get to move on to the business items, and we get to hear from Ashley regarding the park signage template, discussion and possible approval of resolution number 20015, recommending town council approval of a park signage template. So, Mr. Boyle.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a kind of joint project between Ashley and myself, discussing and possible approval of a template for signs for parks public parks throughout the town of Corte Madera. Park and Rec Commission has discussed this and at a couple of their meetings and are looking for a unified look. So there's a kind of a branding, I guess, once again, Mr. Bundy, branding of town parks. So when one is driving by, one can see, hey, there's a town park that's owned by the town, operated by the town, and open to the public. So that is the intent of this, is to bring this template before you for your recommendation, hopefully recommendation of approval, and perhaps with modifications to the town council. Because this is a town project, we're using the new process that you heard and saw when we did the town hall project last month. And so Ms. Howe has created this staff report as well as the town project report, which is our new method of outlining the project, describing the project, describing its purpose, providing a project statement of the intent and how the project will operate. And then also a description of the entitlements that would be required if this was a non-project, if this was coming before you from a private developer. There would be other requirements. It would require a design review and a sign permit as well. And so that's what's outlined in the second document here, which is the town project report. Also go into an analysis of, does it conform to the zoning ordinance, the zoning criteria. Parks in town, majority of parks in town are zoned parks, open space, and natural habitat. And that section of the code, has specific requirements of for construction and development and those types of things. In this town project report, we also describe how the community has been engaged in the past. Again, 2 meetings before the Park and Rec Commission, and for their input and opinions. And then attached is the resolution. The resolution would again be that the Planning Commission would be recommending that this go before the Town Council and be approved by the Town Council. Just a brief description of here's some samples of some of the signs. This one in Old Corte Madera Square, and then other proposed looks for Skunk Hollow and Cove Park and the dog park. And again, obviously using the egret, the town of Corte Madera, as well as Christmas Tree Hill and Tam mountain ridges to give us that unified look. Signs will not be illuminated. Will be constructed with 4x4, or I believe 4x4, maybe 6x6 posts. This generally is a wood material here, but as Ashley would probably point out, the sign at the dog park may be a metal sign located on the fence. So the template is proposed. The exact size is not set, and the exact materials are not set. Those may change by location, and hours of operation will be shown. And then lastly, the part of the application, part of the request is that permits, future permits, and once this template is approved, actual sign permits and actual sign design, getting down to specific materials and location, will be handled by staff and will not come back to the commission or the council. And so that's another request of this matter. So Ashley, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add that I may have left out to that.
I can provide just a brief background. Just kind of what led to the discussion at the Parks and Recreation Commission level. Staff and the commissioners discussed the following the approval of the sign of Old Corte Madera Square at the February 24th, 2020 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. And they've included the design for the park sign to have a unified look. And they wanted to base this design on the sign that was created and established for Old Corte Madera Square by Allison Bricker. And staff suggests adopting the design as the template for future park signs with the addition of the park hours. And most of those park hours are going to be open sunrise to sunset. But like the town park, which the operation hours were set by this commission, but the Planning Commission has set different hours. So those right now are the only ones that have been separate or unique to the open sunrise to sunset. And I apologize that when I did write the October 26th, 2020 packet for the Parks and Recreation Commission, I was not aware that we needed to go through the Planning Commission's review. So that meeting, they did recommend that council review it. So we hope that you also agree with the Parks and Recreation Commission. Sorry, I have a cat that's trying to come into the screen, and approve the sign template as seen in the attachments. Really, I hope that you have any questions. We can answer that in this format, and I open up to the commission.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Commissioner Bandel, do you have any questions for Ashley or for Phil?
No, I don't. I think it's a good idea for the uniformity and the easy recognition of what belongs to the town, and it'll become sort of I think it's a good idea.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Rizzo, do you have any questions for Ashley or for Phil?
Are these the final guidelines, or will you be kind of looking at, sort of like putting proportions to text to the graphics and the materials, like, so there's some sort of coordination with the uniformity of the look of the signs?
Regarding the uniformity, it's really that, so the template that you've seen in the attachment, that's Old Corte Madera Square, that is the actual sign that was installed this year. So we want to really follow that as the model, but obviously everything would be scaled down to whatever size the sign is actually going to be. The sign at that location is very well fitting, but those dimensions and the material would not necessarily be the best fit for, say, Skunk Hollow or for the dog park. Does that answer your question?
Similar. I mean, typically when things don't go back up to a kind of a commission for review for one-offs, there's sort of a standard with, if the text is 3 inches, the sign's going to be 3 feet or something, so it's proportionate and it looks kind of uniform. Otherwise, you find that some of the text looks a little bit disproportional to the sign. I was just curious, which makes it really easy for staff to really review and approve really quickly if there was some sort of proportional standards to the sign itself.
I see what you mean. I think that we come into some challenges with that by just looking at the example in the attachment for Skunk Hollow Mini Park. That's already bumped down to 2 lines. If you used a proportionate and a ratio, that might not necessarily work as well as desired.
I was more speaking to the height of the text, not necessarily the. Anyway, so what you're saying is there's not going to be, it's just going to be up to the discretion of the planning director to see if it meets these 3 diagrams?
The request is to leave it up to my staff, to my team.
Okay. Are you guys going to limit the materials to a few materials, or is it going to be any material could have the sign on it?
We have not gotten into the specifics on materials. The 2 that come to my mind are metal or wood, but again, it's really going to be to the location.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bundy.
Yeah, I think this looks really good because I'm on the beautification committee and was involved in the design and, getting this constructed. I discussed that with council and with Adam, and we all felt there was no conflict with me, opining on this. So I think this is a good plan to go ahead and do that. When the beautification committee was looking at the old Corte Madera Square sign, we were sort of seeing that as a one-off, but I think it's a great template for the other parks, and to do it the same way with whatever material is most appropriate.
All right. Commissioner Metcalf.
I agree with Bob that having a template and having the signs coordinate with each other makes a lot of sense, very professional. People will recognize the drawings as Corte Madera Park. And I wouldn't worry about the size of or the height of the letters. I think as the signs are developed, will be done appropriately. It's not something for us to do at this point. I think a very good job has been done, and I like the follow through on it, and I liked the logo of the egret and the Mount Tam, and I guess that's what Christmas Tree Hill.
Yeah.
It's very representative of our town, and we're proud of it.
Okay, thank you. I like the line drawing aspect of it and the fact that the typeface will all be the same. I understand Commissioner Rizzo's concern about size of type and sign materials and all of that. This is not a regulatory sign or a highway sign, but it's good. These are going to have different characters. I understand you describing these. Is that fair to say, Ashley?
Yes.
Okay. All right. As with all things, we have to open this up to public comment. So we will open up this item to public comment now. You may email in to public comment at tcmmail.org or raise your hand on the screen for Tracy to let you in. Do we have anybody doing such?
We don't have any raised hands, and we have received no email.
Okay, then we'll close public comment on this item. Anything that anyone would like to add? I'll start with you, Commissioner Bandel, if you'd like to add anything to the discussion.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Commissioner Bundy, I think you've just said what you wanted to say, unless you want to add anything else.
Nothing to add.
Okay. Commissioner Rizzo.
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Metcalf, do you have anything else you would like to add to your previous commentary?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you. So with that said, our role is to recommend approval to the town council. So who can make a motion, please, for permit number PL 2020-0094-RPT?
I can do that. Recommendation by the Planning Commission to the Town of Corte Madera Town Council to review and accept the town project report, which describes the park signage template for public Corte Madera town parks, and permit staff to make the final decision related to dimensions and materials specific to each park sign location. This is resolution number 20-015. Permit number PL 2020-0094-RPT, adoption 12/8/20.
Thank you very much. Phil, do you have anything you need to add to this?
No construction hours pertinent, and no one can appeal it because it's just a recommendation.
That's correct. Okay, that's great. Ashley, thank you very much for getting this done. They look great.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Are we going to take a vote on that, or did everyone vote? Okay.
We need to, please.
Okay, we'll just do a quick vote on it. It sounds like everyone's going to approve, but
yes.
Start with Commissioner Bundy.
Yes.
All right, Commissioner Bendel.
Yes.
Commissioner Rizzo.
Yes.
Vice Chair Metcalf.
Yes.
And Chairman Chase.
Yes. Thank you, Adam. All right, so then the last thing on our business item calendar tonight is the discussion of town policies related to construction hours. This has been an item been brought to the commission at the request of Commissioner Bundy. And you guys wrote an exceedingly staff report. Thank you.
Yeah, this is essentially a follow-up from our last meeting where the Planning Commission wanted to put this item on the agenda. So I drafted a staff report just providing and elaborating on some of the background information regarding our existing regulations related to construction noise, highlighting both the existing noise ordinance that was updated in October/November of 2019, and that's attachment 1 to your staff report. And then also including the general plan policy PSH-5.7 and the implementation 5.7a, which essentially was what we relied on in updating the noise ordinance related to construction hours at the in last year, about a year ago, when we did the update to the noise ordinance, which was not just for, it was kind of an overhaul, but we included some of these provisions as we were doing that. So I just wanted to note this came up, and I think it's good to highlight this construction hour discussion, just so we get some clarity on it and then get some direction from you. And I'll get to that in a second, but in the past we have had for design review projects essentially a more narrow band of construction hours, what we've called construction hours, but essentially that was more narrow than what the noise ordinance permits for construction. And basically the municipal code really just regulates construction through the noise ordinance and says, if you're doing, you can exceed essentially the otherwise applicable rules regarding noise for construction during these times. In the past, for design review and other discretionary permits in front of the Planning Commission or even staff, we would limit that to 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday and 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday. Since the passage of the noise ordinance, and we've been still catching ourselves here and there in this regard, as sort of on display here earlier tonight as it relates to the signs and having to make those modifications to those prior resolutions that you discussed tonight. We have changed our standard condition of approval basically to align our conditions of approval by just essentially restating what the noise ordinance already says since 2019, basically since we updated it. So we have on page 2 of the staff report, if Phil, you just want to go down, there's in that sort of the new font down there is the standard condition of approval now. Again, that is consistent with what is in the noise ordinance. It's consistent with what's in the general plan. And I think one of the primary reasons we wanted to update this was because really consistency we felt was really important between construction is construction, whether it goes through a discretionary permit or whether it's 248 square foot addition that's also noisy. But they should have the same rules is the point there. So we want to be consistent both in discretionary permits and non-discretionary permits and rely really on our municipal code and on our general plan for what the rules are. And I think that is the way that we make sort of our enforcement stronger and really we should be consistent in how we enforce the rules. So in any case, I did want to point out that we really haven't had, in talking to Mike Moriarty, our code enforcement official, we will get projects here and there that usually when, frankly, there's some controversy related that we see at the Planning Commission, and then the construction starts, and it's just sort of a, you'll get sort of somebody who's watching or sort of just paying attention to what the rules are, and sometimes the contractors will need to be told for a particular project here and there that they should be packing their bags and getting off the site by 5 p.m., limiting not getting there before 7 and so forth. But in general, we haven't seen a lot of complaints specifically related to like Sunday work. And according to our code enforcement official, it's not a significant real issue at this point, although it is something that we monitor, and we do get complaints from time to time and address those as needed. So, from staff's perspective, I think we feel that we should continue to use what was in the noise ordinance as updated last year and move forward with that. Use and make that consistent between both discretionary permits and non-discretionary permits. And so use the new standard condition of approval that you see on page 2. And we aren't necessarily recommending that this needs to be changed at this time, but we can monitor it going forward. That said, the Planning Commission, if the Planning Commission feels that this is an issue that should be addressed and we should be limiting hours of construction or noise associated with hours of construction to a more narrow time period, what I would recommend is that the Planning Commission basically request that staff return at a future Planning Commission meeting. We can prepare a draft resolution and you can make a recommendation to the town council that staff should take this up and as part of its next work plan. That's our recommendation, but I'm happy to obviously to listen to what the Planning Commission wants to do and get direction from the Planning Commission on if and how it would like to move forward. We've also included basically this was a request just to what other jurisdictions have as far as construction hours. So that was prepared by Tracy, give her all the credit there because that was, she's makes quick work out of that, although I don't know how, because when I try to look through other people's codes, it's not so easy to find this stuff, but she says it was pretty easy. So I don't know, I'll believe her. But on attachment 2, that has, I think, a really useful list of where we are compared to some of the other surrounding jurisdictions. And so with that, I'll just turn it over to any questions that you may have and leave it to, obviously we can, I don't know if there's any members of the public, but if not, look forward to hearing from you and your deliberation on this.
Thank you, Adam.
And I will say it's not an action item tonight. There's no formal action to take, but I'm here to listen to your thoughts about next steps if there needs to be any.
Okay, thank you, Adam. So that said, I'll go to each of you commissioners and you can ask Adam or engage in the discussion as you see fit. I'll start with you, Commissioner Bandel.
Are we asking questions or are we giving opinions?
No, you're asking questions right now, preferably, yes.
Okay, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Rizzo.
Oh, my internet's getting bad. I was just texting my family to stop using so many devices. I hope you guys can hear me. I just, it's really interesting because, I built a lot of projects and we do want to work on the weekends. Some things are just very, very difficult to pallet in a residential district like demolition. And I saw that there was some paragraph about demolition somewhere in the readings. I think 10 to 5 it's nice that it starts later, the noise ordinance. And I like the fact that it does align with the noise ordinance with the construction hours. It would be nice to have a Sunday where there's no demolition or heavy type of construction, if that's even possible to do something like that, and continue, sort of light construction work, so people don't have to go 7 days a week for a year next to somebody in a residential district, especially in the R1 category. I don't know if that's possible or not, but that's what I would have to say about it. I know that it would definitely affect progress on a contract and may elongate construction timeline, but it might alleviate some sort of pressure to the neighbors next to you if you're doing major work.
I think we, we do see most. I don't have data on this, but I think our observation is that a lot of construction or professional contractors don't necessarily always work on Sundays, or they take Sundays off anyways, unless they're in a sort of a, there's some really deadline they're working towards to get some people back into the House or something like that. That's one point. But just to clarify, so it is possible to change the rules. Just on that, what it would take basically, we would need to amend the noise ordinance, and also I would be recommending changing the general plan as well as part of that. So that's those would be the two actions necessary to.
So Adam,
yeah.
Well, just like it says no grading operations within 500 feet of residential are allowed Monday through Saturday. I mean, couldn't it just, could we put demolition in there, for instance? I'm just saying, like, some of the stuff that shakes your house all day long, type of stuff. And it's usually just the demolition, to be honest with you, and grading and heavy equipment type of things.
Yeah, that would be, so these are specific in the these are codes. Yeah, these are straight out of the municipal code. So it would be a change to the municipal code that we would make to do that.
Yeah, that's my comment. Just the Sundays, I like the fact that you can't grade on Sundays. It would be great if some of the heavier stuff could be modified. Something like that. I mean, all the other things, I think it's going to be really too hard to monitor. Every homeowner's got a nail gun now and uses compressors and things like that. And I think it would be tough to take that away from someone who only has Sunday to work on their house, for instance. But, for a contractor coming with heavy equipment on Sunday is a whole different story. And you're correct. Most of them won't even be working anyway. Thank you.
Peter, I think you're muted, or I can't hear you.
Okay, there we go. Commissioner Metcalf, do you have some questions for Adam? Commentary?
Question in general, looking at all of the other towns. So I noticed that the different zones, there is no difference. Whereas like a residential zone would have certain rules, a commercial zone would have different rules. And that doesn't seem to appear in any of these. So my assumption is that it's looked at the same. Is that correct? And it's done purposely, that all construction is treated the same, or locations of construction, I should say. That would be more clear.
That's my understanding, Tracy. I don't know if you have any other insight on that, but that would be my understanding.
Yeah, I think San Anselmo has one zone where they have different construction hours, it appears. I think Phil's on that page right there.
Yeah, right, that is,
and
yeah, that's I know that area in San Anselmo, and that's different, but not
residential versus commercial.
Yeah, nothing like that.
At least not from what I found. I did find, I think there's 2 instances, I believe, where owner builders have different hours of construction that are allowed, which I can see how difficult that would be for the police or for staff to
figure it out.
Figure that out, or get the truth out of a single individual working there at a property. But a couple of instances of different owner builder hours.
And it looks like it's kind of even whether or not Sunday construction is allowed.
Yeah, I think it was mostly not allowed, actually. I'd have to count.
In looking at this, it kind of looked the same. I mean, if I remember correctly, we did not have Sunday construction, and then we added it. Is that correct? The town?
No.
Was there
in fact, it's always been in the ordinance. It's always been permitted on Sundays. Prior, from the noise ordinance, we just as the planning commission and the planning staff modified it really without much nexus to the findings or anything that were there to make. But created some modification to those hours on its own volition. And so it created basically a different set of rules for projects that went through the planning commission or went through the planning department versus those that did not. those construction projects that did not. And I think that is more than anything what I would like to fix as to what the right rules are. You know, I think we followed the general plan policy, which was developed and is in still our general plan policy. And that's why we followed that last year when we updated the noise ordinance. That was already decided back in the day. So in any case, that's my understanding. And we, frankly, our staff inherited that from, it must be many years where the planning, the conditions of approval in the planning department approval or the planning commission approval had more limited construction hours.
Mm-hmm. And my assumption is that there are not a lot, if any, complaints about Sundays.
Well, yeah, that's, I reached out to Mike Moriarty and that was his take is you will have an individual project here or there one at a time where that becomes an issue, but generally, no, we don't receive a lot of them. It's not a significant source of complaints and enforcement needs.
So essentially what you'd like to do is just clean it up.
What I'm recommending is that we monitor it. We don't have to do anything. There's no cleanup needed, essentially that we've already cleaned up the conditions of approval. We've already cleaned up the noise ordinance to be consistent with the general plan. Okay. And so we're now all consistent from a policy perspective and then from a construction standpoint in terms of the projects either being discretionary projects or non-discretionary projects. So I think we're in good shape now. But if it became an issue or we hear that it's problematic, we could obviously try to address that.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Phyllis. Now to Commissioner Bundy.
Yeah, Adam, thanks for putting this on. Tracy, thanks for reviewing this to see what the other communities were doing. As a result of having the construction hours consistent with the noise ordinance, the Planning Commission would no longer have discretion if a neighbor was requesting that the hours be limited beyond this for a particular project. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way to handle that is correct. I want to say there may be very unique circumstances that may sort of make its way into the findings that the commission has to make in order to approve a project. That may lead it to say it can only approve a project if those hours are actually modified. But that would be it's not very obvious how that would actually occur. But I still would say that there may be a unique circumstance. There are, for example, different findings associated with subdivisions, such as Robin Drive and those bigger construction projects, which have a little bit more flexibility in terms of how to make those findings. So my recommendation moving forward on that would be to, basically it's a voluntary commitment, but that commitment could be made on the record by an applicant if they wanted to agree to not conduct work at certain times. So that would be the way to handle that in general. Yeah.
So, and if we were to make a recommendation to change the hours, is it also possible that we could have things different for commercial projects such as the malls, where we would allow Sunday construction, but not on residential, and maybe defining commercial as no residence within 500 feet or 300 feet or some figure such as that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we can, as a town, the town council can make any rules that it feels appropriate as far as an amendment to the municipal code. So certainly those things could be considered. I think if we go too far, I don't want to say, you know, one of the things to think about is, which we always do with these things, is how much public review you really want to get into. If we're going into certain things that may be a little bit unusual or may have different rules for certain portions of the population versus others, I think it would be really key to reach out to the stakeholders and make sure that they at least have an opportunity to address the proposal and raise things that maybe we didn't consider or think of. So, but yeah, absolutely. It's all, I mean, these are the town's rules can be, can make we could create any rules that we want related to construction, put it that way. I mean, the town council can ultimately.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that a number of questions have been asked, and I don't have any questions for you, Adam, on this. I do appreciate the clarity that was established in the staff report for the different areas of Marin County. I think it's very helpful. So that said, I think it's time to go back to the commissioners here and ask them their feelings about modifying this or recommending modification to you.
Peter, if you might just, I know there's probably, I don't know, it doesn't look like there's any members of the public, but if we can, do you want to open it up for public comment?
Okay, certainly.
Before doing that, yeah, just to.
Okay, thank you. With that said, I will then say we can open this up to public comment for public comment at tcmmail.org by email or by raising your hand on the screen, and Tracy can let you in.
Thank you, Chair Chase. We have no raised hands, and we have no emails.
Okay, thank you. So we'll close public comment on this.
Thanks.
Thank you. And go back to the commissioners for their commentary on this. Commissioner Bandel.
First, I meant to do it right off the bat, compliment Tracy on that comparison of the different areas in Marin County. I think that was really, really helpful, and I appreciated it. I do notice that it's Corte Madera and Fairfax that allow Sunday construction. Every other area town, it's prohibited. Some Saturday and Sunday, but it's prohibited. And I really feel strongly that 6 days a week for construction is enough. The one thing that I've noticed in my neighborhood with the major construction projects that have gone on is, number one thing about weekend construction is the trucks are being pulled up onto the sidewalk, which make it impossible for families to get out and move around. And when I've called up for enforcement, first of all, you can't get anyone on a Saturday or Sunday anyway. And when I've called up, and it happens over and over again, after you've called 3 or 4 times, you start getting treated like, at least for me, a little old lady complaining. I don't find enforcement to be very effective unless you can say it's absolutely prohibited and just shouldn't be allowed. And I think 6 days a week is plenty. I personally think Saturday should be limited also, but I can see that, see, Adam just gave me a smile. I see there, made a face. I think that 6 days a week is plenty. And I think that, I mean, I've noticed in the construction people that I've seen around and the construction that I've been involved with, construction people tend to start early and close up early. I don't see anything wrong with that. And I think there should be an exception made for people who, do their own home construction projects in their home, but the big trucks and all that they involve should be limited.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay. To Mr. Rizzo, what are your thoughts on this?
I just think it's very interesting how different communities have approached this. Mill Valley's got an interesting one where they prohibited on the weekends except owner builder. I think it's going to be tough to monitor any construction, especially from the homeowner's perspective. But I kind of agree with Adam. If we monitor this for the next 6 months and see if we get, a significant amount of complaints, and maybe it's time to revisit some of these ordinances and policies. But does staff have a list of that sort of information over the last year of how many complaints there have been, or is it more like one construction project and there's like one neighbor that's upset that's got like 100 complaints? Or have you experienced numerous calls in the last year?
Yeah. Now we have Mike Moriarty as the code enforcement official. I get less of those directly, but yeah, I know, for example, like 38 Lakeside was a project that I would say we probably have 2 projects on an ongoing basis that will be like that. And 38 Lakeside started as a very, yes, that was a project, like you said, it's many complaints from that one project on construction hours. But I don't know if Mike has been tracking specifically complaints. And again, I don't know how many of those are for Sunday work versus like 6 o'clock on a Wednesday or something like that. But I don't think we have the data on exactly how many there's been. But my impression, and talking to Mike, and my own impression prior to Mike's sort of coming on board with staff, is that it generally is, there's probably like 2, maybe 2 to 3 projects at any given moment, or maybe 2 at any given moment, or throughout the year, that will have sort of that issue going on. But typically those are not just hours of construction complaints. There's a variety of other complaints that are going on with that construction project.
Yeah, every part of our community is a little bit unique. I could see there being issues with, the Sunday construction works being a parking issue because more people are home during the weekends. Whereas I live in the flats, and we've got a ton of parking down here by Town Square where it's not as much of an issue. But again, if you're not receiving complaints on those things, then I don't see a reason to modify it at this time. But I do kind of like the idea of not listening to demolition at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. But that's kind of my opinion on it. I think once the community, there's a lot of community outreach and discomfort with the construction hours, and I think it should come back as a policy change.
Okay, thank you, Jim. To Commissioner Metcalf, your thoughts about this?
Well, after hearing from Adam, I think it makes sense to monitor it. And I guess Mike Moriarty, he reports to Todd. Is that correct? Who does Moriarty?
Yes.
Okay.
So he works, he reports directly to Todd, but it works very closely with the building department as well.
Maybe he can be asked to keep a written record of the complaints that come in and the addresses. And that would give us an idea in 6 months whether there are a lot of them and whether they are restricted to certain, particular projects, etc. And then we could see what to do if anything should be done. I mean, my brothers would be not to have construction on Sunday, but it seems to be accepted by others, you know, and in the town. So, as I say, I just think it should be monitored for now with written, you know, with the written records kept.
Thank you, Phyllis. Dr. Bundy, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this since you originated this item.
Yeah, part of it was I didn't want to get caught on each approval of a particular project trying to modify the hours. So I like the idea of having, you know, consistency of hours that we didn't have to get involved in modifying. So I really like that aspect of it. I suspect there aren't too many complaints about construction on Sunday because it doesn't happen that often. But I suspect that when it does, you know, those are significant complaints from neighbors. So I would be in favor of eliminating construction on Sunday, with the exception of the town center, the village, maybe Town Plaza, Park Madera, or other specific areas in Corte Madera. And I would, I guess I would leave the issue of owner builder, you know, the people, my neighbors, you know, they're doing not so much construction, but they're doing some woodworking or projects like that on a Sunday. And, you know, I'd sometimes wish they wouldn't do it, but I think most of us sort of let that go. So, and the other thing, I would be in favor of seeing if we could make it consistent between Corte Madera, Larkspur, and San Anselmo. So if there are calls to the police, they don't have to look at what's Corte Madera's, what's Larkspur's, and what's San Anselmo's. So that those would be my thoughts going forward. I think the limited hours, I think 10 to 5 on Saturday makes sense.
Thank you, Dr. Bunny. I myself have done a fair amount of work on my house on the weekends and couldn't possibly get done what I need to get done on just Saturday. And I work Sunday to work on the house, as do most of my neighbors when they have a project. Sometimes it's, you know, echoing back and forth, and sometimes it's perfectly dead quiet on Sundays. So I think everybody accepts the fact that people have to work on their homes. There are small contractors that do work on the weekends in my neighborhood. So it seems sort of essential that somehow something be carved out or allowed for on Sundays. I have yet to see an earth mover or any kind of heavy equipment work on a Sunday. Those kind of people just don't. The only exception to that might be over there on the east side with the new development, that they might work on a Sunday, but I doubt it very much. So I'm all for keeping it as it is and keeping a finger on it and understanding what occurs over the next year, and deciding if at that time there's been a preponderance of complaints in any direction or another, to motivate this to change. That's how I feel about it. So.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it sounded like there were at least, I think, 3, you know, maybe, I don't know if you want me to summarize what I heard, but it sounds like there was 3 commissioners who were seemed to be more in favor of not, at this time, not necessarily moving forward with a potential recommendation to the town council for modification of the ordinance, but monitor it with the code enforcement official and Mike Moriarty, see, you know, get a more accurate case log of the issues and the complaints that we do get, and then sort of take action based on some of that data, but or you know, and if, you know, it seems like the likely outcome, if we go that direction, would be to sort of focus on Sundays as the the issue, the place to sort of resolve some of the issues, which may or may not align with the complaints we get, but understood that it seems like that is more of a quiet time for in residential neighborhoods in particular. But am I correct in assuming that for the time being, the majority of commissioners seem to be in favor of at least maybe a 6-month? We could check back in 6 months and see where we are, and we'll try to track the complaints that we do get related to construction hours over that time. I see. I
mean, you might want to extend it to a year just because there's not a lot of stuff going on during the winter season.
Okay.
We can do a brief update at some point, and either it can be a planning director report or something like that, 6 months, and do another one in a year.
That makes sense.
I would agree. I think that's where we are. It's a preponderance of commissioners to get better data on what the actual rate of complaint is to this issue.
Okay. I think we could do that. We actually have we're interviewing, I think it was mentioned at the community chat earlier today that Mike is actually interviewing for some help. So that would be a nice, good initial project for our new code enforcement staff that we may on board, but probably not before the new year, but right after the new year. So
yeah, great.
All right. Well, thank you.
Okay.
I hope that helps. And I think it was also, I would just say, it's also, hopefully we can have you can give me your comments offline and the process that we went through to get this, and develop this topic at least into a discussion item that we can get some feedback and direction on, which I know was of concern last time we spoke, but I think it did allow us the opportunity to bring some more information to bear that I think was useful for the commission.
Yeah, I would like to just also again say that this was a great little staff report, and to clearly illuminate the issue with information that's good to consider. So I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Peter,
yeah.
I'd like to add one comment. I think you're correct that there are some small contractors that do work on Sunday. My impression is those are mostly working on projects that have not been permitted.
That's a different problem.
Yeah, very true. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, Bob, we can start the contractor police for Sunday.
Yeah, well, actually, I think that is going to be part of why we're getting some more help, is the weekend help with things like dogs off leash and all the little things that happen more frequently on weekends. We're not capturing as much when we're only working during the week. So that's part of the additional staff will help cover those days on the weekends.
Don't forget, it isn't only dogs off leash, it's dogs on leashes that are more than 6 feet. And I can just see somebody there with the measuring tape measuring out the length of these leashes.
Yeah.
First world problems.
Yes.
Oh my.
Well.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm going to suggest that we wrap up the meeting without taking a break, if everybody's up to that.
Okay.
And the next item on the agenda is commissioner reports. I would report on the December 1st meeting, but was there somebody who had a council meeting before me for December 1st?
I think I did, Peter.
Yeah, go ahead.
So things that would kind of interest our group here, the commissioners. One thing that came up regarding the home key project, there was a closed session with council about an anticipated litigation issues, and the roll call came back with a vote 5-0 to motion that there would be we're not going to take any legal action right now and in continuing negotiations with the county and in meeting with the town's benchmarks for success for this project. So there was a motion not to take any legal action there. There was a public hearing on electronic signatures to allow the use of electronic signatures to legally bind documents, which all council members felt like a good idea. And I would almost like to extend that to some of the signatures required on plans in the construction world. Seems to be a little bit old school. And there was a vote on pension issues that also went through 5-0. And then one of the big items that was discussed, and it might be worth people looking at the video, was the climate change, how we adopt, discussion and direction for staff regarding preparation for possible responses to the grand jury report. And maybe Adam might be able to elaborate on a few of these things, or we could just have the commissioners take a look at the video if they're interested. But we were supposed to respond to 4 findings, or I think 5 findings and 2 responses. But all in all, the town council felt like the staff prepared responses to the findings and recommendations to the grand jury in an excellent manner. And we feel like we're more prepared than most communities in other jurisdictions to respond to a lot of the climate change at this time. So, and felt like we were a little bit ahead of the curve with some of the workshops and consultants that we'd hired. And that's what I have to report for that hearing. Sorry, council meeting.
Thank you. Adam, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. There's been a couple of things. Yeah, there was the response to the Marin County grand jury report. Phil was actually more involved in helping craft the response to that, but RJ really took the lead on that. And I think that was a fine summary there, Commissioner Rizzo, on our responses. It was really this idea that the grand jury had that we should be sort of joining forces with the county and all the jurisdictions should have this cohesive way forward to address climate hazards and risks moving forward. So we've obviously started that process. I will say, so there's that effort. Phil has also been working on the climate action plan modifications, which has really been going through working with the council subcommittee on sustainability. And sort of, we actually commissioned an update to it about a year ago, and it's now ready to come back, I think, to the town council at the next meeting. And by all means, I think, Phil, it would be good to do a future report on an update to the commission on exactly what's in there. There was also a climate emergency resolution that I believe was passed at the last town council meeting, which just means that, it means, I shouldn't say just means, but it means that essentially the town manager and through the town manager, that staff will be considering climate action policies and climate issues through pretty much all phases of relevant work that we do. And so you may start seeing in staff reports, for example, more for the town council, but it may also apply to the planning commission. In fact, I think it would on a lot of occasions, sort of a new heading related to the way we talk about environmental review. We may also include climate action or climate consistency with climate action or adaptation plans. So the other thing to report on, just there was a public workshop related to the climate adaptation plan that was I forget the exact date. I want to say mid-November that I attended. Phil also attended, and RJ, and had a fairly good turnout. Again, this was now the first time we were really we're starting to look at actually strategies and actions to include in the plan, and how to prioritize specific strategies. And that is going to be, the draft plan, I think, will be out for public review fairly soon. I just don't have a date on that yet. And I do want to have that come before the Planning Commission as well for discussion and maybe some public comment. I think the challenge is just the timing of getting that before the council and complete and moving it forward. But it is obviously a living document and will be something that we'll be looking to in the future very seriously in terms of how to implement a lot of the things in there, and a lot of things we already are implementing, but nonetheless, really important piece of work there. So a lot on the climate front, I will just say, over the last couple of months. Commissioner Bundy, do you?
I was going to comment that the 12/15 town council meeting, I believe the climate adaptive plan is being discussed and presented at that point. And this would be a good opportunity for commissioners to tune into that aspect of the meeting in particular.
Let me just,
just to clarify, because I was speaking with RJ this afternoon, and a couple things going on the next council meeting. So week from today, I'm taking the climate action plan, which you all were involved in way back in the early one, way back in 2016. That's going before the council for their official adoption. And so that's not a brand new plan. That is the 2016 plan updated. And so that's the climate action plan for next week. And then the climate adaptation plan, which is RJ Suko from Public Works is spearheading, that is going to the town council as a presentation information item. Basically, RJ is saying, okay, we've gone through the process. Here's all the public outreach we've done. Here's the plan. What, if any, feedback do you have? He'll take that in, and then he hopes to generally bring it back to the town council in February for their official approval. So then lastly, as Adam said, kind of three things in the climate world. The last one was like reiterating the climate declaration of a climate emergency, which was basically declaring that, and many other jurisdictions have done that. We're in serious trouble. We need to do X, Y, and Z. So the town council approved that. And as Adam said, it had language that encouraged staff to, when you look at a project, have a section that says, here's how this project is consistent or inconsistent or with the climate action plan, or here are the sustainability elements of this project. In which, at times some projects have quite a lot of those, some projects have very little. As an example, tonight, I mentioned that Polestar is going to be Cal Green, but outside of that, they're not doing much. There's not a whole lot they could do, but there's always various things.
Well, except that they are an electric vehicle company, so
absolutely, yes, yeah, that's a green point in their favor too. Many people would think.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the summation of the three climate things that are on the people are working on these days.
So a lot going on there. And what else can I say? I think I'll leave it at that. I'll elaborate a little bit on the Project Home Key, because that has been something that I've been working on closely with the town manager, and then also we selected a group of four residents who had applied to be on the working group for the project Home Key project on Casa Buena, which is the conversion of that hotel to residential use for homeless individuals. And so we had 18 applicants who wanted to be on the working group. They were, I mean, a lot of interest, some great applicants. We narrowed it down to 4, and that group, along with myself and staff from the county, we're going to have a member of the town council on that group. We're sort of working through the communication plan, but there will be a regular report out. There will be opportunity for the community to stay very closely involved in that process and to gain more information, and just to sort of have a two-way communication and express any issues or requests for questions, requests for information directly to the group. And residents will be updating the community through the newsletter and other social media sort of outlets, just to keep everybody aware of what's going on. I will say we don't have any sort of move-in date there yet. They're still doing construction work to complete the building and get some of the major sort of some of the infrastructure in place. But they did close, the county did close on the project on November 30th. So a lot going on, and that's all I have other than just to say I hope everyone really enjoys the holidays coming up. We have we're planning on canceling the planning commission meeting the week of Christmas, and so I just I know it's been a very challenging year. I hope everyone gets a little bit of a chance just to take a mental break a little bit. I know many of our staff are looking forward to just doing that, but I wish you all the best for the holidays upcoming and the new year, and we'll start again in 2021.
That's very nice sentiment, Adam. Thank you for saying all that. I think it goes without saying that we all appreciate you and your staff and wish the best to you.
Thank you.
I would just say that for the December 1st meeting, there wasn't anything that was particularly of significant interest to the commission. They did approve a amount to Ron Cappy for life cycle analysis regarding the green building options for the town hall project. That was done. And they did approve the resolution, as you just said, regarding the declaring a climate emergency. And lastly, they approved the amount of $100,000 to be used by the town for the purchase of gift cards and various benefits to the local businesses. So they're going to sustain the local businesses to the tune of $100,000. And that will be up to staff to figure out, I guess, how to spend that money. Anything else you want to add about that, Adam?
No, I mean, we started rolling that out a couple of weeks ago, and basically, I know Andy's, we purchased a good $15,000 worth of gift cards from Andy's prior to Thanksgiving, and then we're looking at some of the people who had already applied for either the rental assistance programs in town or other households that may have asked or requested some assistance in the past, reached out to them to provide the gift cards to them in hopes that they could, have a little bit of a boost in getting some needed groceries, at the same time supporting the local businesses who are also hurting as well. So, that's, think, I don't know, obviously I think everyone's concerned about how far that really can go from a local business standpoint and from our resident standpoint. It's just a very challenging time all around. And now obviously as of today, you know, some of the restaurants and other businesses are further restricted. So it's going to be pretty challenging. I know a lot of them were really, you know, the outdoor dining was keeping them afloat to a certain extent, some of our local businesses. And we'll just have to hope that, you know, everyone does their part and the restrictions sort of can be lifted as quickly as possible so that they can get back to serving customers again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on to the 3 sets of meeting minutes that we have, October 13th, October 27th, and November 10th. Does anybody have any commentary or want to make any changes on any of those meeting minutes?
I move to approve all 3.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, with that, I certainly wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Hanukkah, and I hope you all do well and that we meet again in 2021 under slightly better circumstances.
Here's to that. Cheers. Thanks.
Amen.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel, but we still have a long time to get through.
Like a long way off.
Yeah, Bob, can you pull any strings for us? What do you got?
Got nothing.
Darn.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
See you next year.